Immigration.
Migration. To stop the boat.
Give us back control.
Immigration will be a make or break issue for this government.
Refugees are welcome here.
We've got a system that will take care of proper legal migrants. It's the illegal migrants that we don't want here.
According to the polls, many voters consider it a priority, and over the summer, up and down the country, hotels housing asylum seekers became a target for far-right protests that turned into violent disorder. So, how did we get here? Firstly, the number of people coming into the UK has risen dramatically over the past decade. Last year, net migration into the country was 685,000. 10 years ago, it was 260,000. There's also the number of people coming in via illegal routes, including in small boats across the Channel. Last year, that was around 50,000. These figures have prompted successive Conservative governments to say they must bring immigration down.
I want good immigration, not mass immigration.
If we look back to 2010, to David Cameron's election campaign.
Let us make this the year for change.
He was under pressure and promised to reduce net migration to the tens of thousands. But instead, the numbers went in the other direction, rising to 330,000 by 2015. At the time, anti-EU sentiment was growing, and a lot of that was linked to immigration coming from Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello.
Nigel Farage became a leading Eurosceptic voice, making his mark on the political stage by demanding that immigration numbers come down.
We want our passports back. We want our borders back. We want our country back.
And Leave EU's breaking point poster was a central moment during the Brexit campaign.
There has been a growing perception that migration has been unpopular for various reasons.
Post-Brexit, UK net immigration figures are actually higher. And whilst it stopped the free flow of EU workers into the UK, labour shortages increased. Part of the solution has been that workers from across the world have now come to the UK to fill some of those gaps. The outgoing Conservative government granted around 286,000 work visas in their final year of office. Almost 90,000 of those were in the health and social care sector. The Conservatives did have some success in bringing down numbers by restricting dependents for foreign workers and students coming into the UK.
It is possible to control immigration, but it involves choices that governments are not willing to make. Governments of both types that we've had over the last 20 years haven't been entirely honest with people in saying, look, these are the choices we make. They're saying we could stop all care and health visas, for example, but that would mean that either people would have to care for their elderly relatives at home, or they would have to pay 2 or 3 times the price of what they do at the moment. And we're not willing to take the fallout for that massive increase in the costs of social care. Therefore, we will allow 100,000 visas for people to come and work in the health and social care sector.
Politicians and the media have been accused of stoking anti-immigration sentiment. Some have even been held responsible for demonising asylum seekers so much that they've been accused of sparking the violence that we saw this summer. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's pledge to stop the boats was reportedly chanted by some of those who took to the streets.
And we are stopping the boats with our Rwanda partnership.
And it was Suella Braverman who spearheaded the government's controversial illegal migration bill.
The British people deserve to know which party is serious about stopping the invasion on our southern coast.
Before he left to join Reform, the Conservative Party's Vice Chair Lee Anderson criticised Labour's London Mayor Sadiq Khan, accusing him of being under the control of Islamists. He also said he hates this country, our heritage, our culture. And Labour have also had their moments. During the election campaign, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer, now the Prime Minister, was criticised after he suggested that Bangladesh could be one place that people were removed from the UK and returned to.
Do you realise you caused offence, though, with those comments?
The reason I referenced Bangladesh the other night is because it is, for asylum purposes, a safe country, and it's got a returns agreement with the UK. That is a good thing.
Both main parties competed over who would be more successful in bringing down migration levels, and both agreed that both illegal and legal migration figures were too high.
Start listening to the English!
In areas that saw significant unrest this summer, many of the far-right protesters pointed the finger at immigrants, blaming them for the country's economic woes. Social media also played a key role in whipping up anger.
The last 20 years, certainly the last decade or so, has been one of growing austerity in which people have faced a whole range of social and economic problems themselves. And when there's a perception that people are receiving treatment that the broader population is not getting, you can start to understand that hostility. Whereas if the government said, look, the reason why we're putting them in hotels is because we want to control them, even though it's costing more money, coming and explaining the justifications for this would allow at least people to understand what the situation is. It's not really people in hotels which are creating this increase in immigration. It's a distraction.
Labour has ended the Rwanda scheme and will use that funding to establish a new border security command.
Let's be absolutely clear, nobody but nobody should be making that perilous journey. It is a trade that's being run by gangs, and I absolutely refuse to accept that it's not possible to take those gangs down.
However, a former head of UK Border Force has said that Labour's plan to increase detention capacity won't do much to stop the boats, and that the only real solution is a deal with the EU. On net migration, it hasn't set a target, but says it plans to reduce the UK's reliance on foreign labour through workforce training and development, particularly in key sectors such as health and construction. For the last 25 years, immigration figures have been rising despite what politicians have said, and there's no sign yet that that is going to change.